What's going on, guys? Today is probably one of the most commonly asked topics from you as well as the Lunetti platform, and it is how to hire. How do I hire the right people? How do I get the right people to get excited about my brand? And ultimately, I'm gonna give you a very, very quick, dumbed down version of what I've done to do this properly. And to be honest, I've learned by doing it the wrong way for a long time. I have hired hundreds of people. I've made the mistakes of hiring the wrong people. And if you guys don't know, I am the CEO and founder of a lot of brands, but ultimately it's a $1 billion brand portfolio. And I've learned by fucking up. And I say that nicely because I think that's the best way to learn. So hopefully you guys take this advice and you do not make the same mistakes that I did. How to hire properly. The first thing that I'm going to tell you as an owner, founder, or a leadership position is your time is the most valuable time you have in the company. So why I'm saying that is it's very important to understand that paying for experience is valuable. And sometimes people don't understand this, but if you're paying 10% more for a candidate who can deliver 200% more value to the company, it's hard to see it before you hire them, right? But you have to have this expectation that looking at a candidate, looking at their experience, you're gonna need to understand that there's a possibility that someone who understands, has the leadership skills, that quite literally might want an extra 20K a year, seems like a lot, but in the long run, give them ways to drive more revenue to the company and see if they can deliver on those. So in any type of a pre-interview environment, say, look, how are you gonna deliver an extra X amount of money to my company? Or how are you gonna deliver this much more efficiency to my company? And let them build a working model to show you exactly what they plan on doing. Now, what I will say before we get any deeper into this video is there are outliers for every situation, okay? I've hired some of the most experienced people in the world and they didn't do shit for me because they just didn't fit the company culture or couldn't work at the speed that we work. I've also hired some people who had no experience that have came in and absolutely blown the doors off of what I thought they could do. And I'm super, super grateful that I still have them to this day. So again, this is ideally what works 80% of the time. If you have that gut feeling that that young, hungry kid coming into your office is gonna get the job done, take the chance. I've had that happen and I've had it work for me so many times. The next thing is when to pay up versus hire cheap. Again, when you want to pay more, it's when the role directly impacts revenue. CFO, head of sales, VP of brand, VP of finance, something that really has a lot of leadership skill underneath it, because leadership truly, truly takes time to build and you have to learn by doing. I don't want to train people how to be leaders in those positions because I honestly don't have the time to do that anymore. So when you're training for that, I call it my C-level, C-suite level employee, you really want to make sure that they have leadership skills that they can lead a team underneath them, because ultimately you're only leading the C-suite, right? As the founder, as the CEO of a company, you're able to lead the C-suite. And then if you're doing your job correctly, that C-suite should be leading the team underneath them at the same level that you're leading your C-suite. So very, very much pay attention to that. SOPs make good people great, but they don't make bad people good. All right, what I mean by this, following SOPs mechanically, never questioning why, never questioning if they can make them better, that doesn't make a better employee. Ultimately, I'm hiring people because I want them to be better than me. If I bring you in, the goal is for you to be able to execute and do something better than I could, because I truly don't want to hire someone at the same level as me. My goal when I'm hiring anybody in finance, sales, whatever, marketing, I want them to come with fresh ideas that I'm not thinking about and that I don't have the time to drum up in my own head. So what I would really recommend doing in this style of format is when I bring a new hire in for any position that is a leadership position like we're talking about, I give them a task, I give them a go-to-market and say, look, here's what I'm doing, here's my problems, I want you to build me out a plan of action that you would do in this role. And it's very, very important that you're doing this when you're hiring people, because let's just be honest, most people don't get that level of attention to detail before they come on board. Most people, you interview, they have a ton of good recommendations on there, everything seems great, you give them a job offer, they come in, and they honestly half the time don't deliver. A lot of that has to do with AI. A lot of interview applications now are all AI based. So it doesn't seem like they're able to do what they say. The other problem is the references and the people they're putting on their resume to call are absolutely references that they've already told are going to be getting a call from you, so they're pre-warned to give you a good story about this employee. So give them a working model. Now here's the other issue. You give someone a working model, they can put that into AI these days too, and it can spit something out pretty generic. So give them very granular detail of your company and make sure that all of that flows through. What I do when I'm looking at a resume is I'm looking at tenure, Number one, if someone jumps job to job, year to year, that doesn't really give me the best inkling that this person is there to stay and there to grow. A lot of times people don't get what they want in a short period of time and they jump ship and they expect to get somewhere again faster. So what I like to look at on a resume is if they did jump ship, was it for a superior position and has that consistently kept happening? If they're jumping ship and they're just in the same role month over month or year over year, that means that they haven't given the time to the company they were at to show their value, and they're quite literally just kind of staying in the same position for year over year. You don't want somebody like that. You want someone who's going to dedicate the time to get to the next level. You want specific numbers. You don't want things that people are going to be able to fabricate. So, for example, if they grew paid acquisition 1.2 million to 3.8 million in 18 months, that sounds a lot better than managing digital marketing. It also sounds better because you can fact check that with anyone at that company. So what I like to do, which is very, very unique, is I will tend to call other recommendations that they don't have on their resume. So if they worked at X company, I'll go on LinkedIn, I'll try to figure out someone who worked there, and I will arbitrage my way in and ask for advice on these people. It is very, very, very important that you do this because it's very easy to be vague enough on a resume where you don't cause any red flags. 40 to 70% of resumes contain embellishments, right? Everyone wants to sound better. If you've seen the viral LinkedIn post right now where it's like saying something easy and then it puts it into these super like difficult words, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So walk me through the last major project you own start to finish. That's a question I would ask. Tell me about something that you did, but it didn't work out and how you would have done it differently the second time. Here's a challenge we're dealing with. How are you going to approach solving it? What would your last manager say is your biggest area of improvement? You have to be comfortable explaining where you need to get better, right? I'm not perfect. Not everyone is perfect. What can we do to work better and how are we getting better in that realm? Why are you leaving your current role? Why are you here? Why are you in front of me? Tell me what makes you want to come here. And then this is a great point to go back to them and say, what can I do to make sure that you don't want to leave me in the next year? Because that's what I'm seeing here, right? And this is a great time to kind of jump into the, what's your 5-year plan? I cannot tell you how important that question is because a lot of times people jump into a position as I would call it let's say a stepping stone for their career, right? So if someone is an intern in college and they're coming in and they get a marketing job, but that's not really what they want to do, are you really trying to invest months and years of education into them for them to just jump ship when the real career opportunity comes? So again, what is the reason why you're here and what is your 5-year plan? Is this what you want to be doing in 5 years? Because if it's not, then I don't know if I'm ready to invest this much effort into you for you to just up and leave, for me to have to replace you. Very, very important question. That question quite literally has saved me many times from hiring the wrong candidate. Before you make an offer, reference check. I told you this before, but go off of the sheet. Do not go after the references that they put on their sheet, okay? Final self-check. If this doesn't work in 90 days, will I be surprised or did I see signs? What am I choosing to overlook right now? And am I hiring because they're great or because I'm tired of looking? Okay, again, before you make that final decision of hiring, ask yourself these 3 questions. If this doesn't work in 90 days, will I be surprised or did I see the signs? What am I choosing to overlook right now? And am I hiring because they're great or because I'm tired of looking? And I'm gonna give you a real world example. For one of my companies, a smaller vitamin company that we own, we were in a position where we needed someone to come and run the brand. And we were in such a bad position because the person there was not doing a good job that I rushed into hiring the wrong person again. And it has been detrimental to my decision-making skills going forward because I'm quite literally in the exact same position. And if I just would have taken the time and the effort to really interview properly and really get recommendations the way I should have, I could have avoided this entire situation. So again, guys, I'm telling you this stuff because I've done it and I fucked up. Full transparency. What great talent actually does. The number one thing that I will say, the most valuable part of any position in any company is the ability to solve a problem without having to get the answer from somebody else. If I could tell you there is one thing that I would put on my wall and say every single person that works for me, if they could have one good trait, it would be that. And then honestly, being honest, right? I want someone who's honest as well. Equity versus salary, big topic, okay? When you're starting out, it's so easy for you guys to give up equity, right? Oh, I can't afford this position, but I can afford to give them 5% of the company. Now let's think that company turns into $1 billion company. You just gave away a lot of money. I would be very, 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 very smart to implore ways in which you do things. And if you are going to give equity in something, number one, it needs to be vested. And what that means is they need to earn it. You can't just come in and give someone equity. It doesn't make any sense in the world. Nobody would do that. But what you can do is you can say, look, every year you're with the company, you will get X amount of shares for delivering, and that will be part of your bonus, or something along those lines. And you can build it up in a way where it makes sense for everyone involved, but there's no world where you should be giving equity right off the rip unless it's somebody, for example, who you know is gonna deliver impact the immediate second they come in, like an influencer or a sales manager or a sales representative who has a book of business that's gonna come straight into the company, okay? That is very, very, very important. I can't tell you how many times I've done calls with people who regret this specific decision. When they started, they didn't have the capital, so they gave equity, and now they're shooting themselves in the foot because they gave way too much money away and they feel like they got screwed. The playbook for hiring for me: define what the role truly needs, read for outcomes, not duties, go deep into the interview, verify before committing, and pay for real talent in critical roles. The 20% premium pays back 200%. The money you save gets spent 10 times over. It is so important to understand that. One thing that I want to be very, very, very apparent on and say again is this does not always apply to every position. Like I said, I have had young kids come in with a chip on their shoulder who have been fantastic employees for me. They didn't have the education, they didn't have the work, but they had something to prove, and they've become some of my best employees to date. Again, if you have that gut feeling that you think someone's the right person for the job, give them a shot. I would say if you're in a very, very big position and it's a make or break position, I would be a little more hesitant to do so. But again, I've done it and it's worked out for me. And then on the ladder, I've also hired people who have fantastic resumes from some of the biggest companies in our industry. They come here and they just don't deliver, because most of the time when you have senior positions in larger companies, they don't have the ability to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty anymore. They have 5 or 6 people underneath them that they're used to delegating to, and I don't want to hire somebody who's going to go hire people to do their job. If I'm hiring you to come in and I'm expecting you to take the job and run it, and I'm not saying that down the road you need to build a team, but the goal is not to hire someone to go build a team immediately. That person needs to be able to roll their sleeves up, understand the business, do their due diligence, start taking on the role, and if they do see gaps, come to me and say, hey, look, we need someone for this position, but don't hire immediately and then delegate. That is not it. And then the last thing I will be very, very, very quick to touch on is cultural fit. Okay, I have had some of the most talented people in the world working for me, but they may not be the most honest, or they may be, not good for the environment, like almost a cancer to the organization. And I've quite literally held on to these people longer than I should have because I thought that I needed them because they were so good. But over time, they've created this black cloud over my whole organization, and it causes other people to quit. And then that organizational structure just starts to crumble because I'm protecting someone that shouldn't be there in the first place. So guys, I don't want to make this long. I want to be very short. I want to be very sweet with this. I hope you guys get a ton of value out of this. One more thing, because I'm an idiot and I didn't say it. Be very, very intentional about these job descriptions and what you expect. Let me give you an example, and it's very simple. My wife is very OCD. She expects everything to be done perfect because she is a perfectionist. We hire a cleaning company to come clean our house on a weekly basis, and every week she comes to me and she says, they forgot to clean this, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, I'm so frustrated, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. And I said, have you ever sat down with them and walked them through and shown them exactly what you want them to do? And my wife said, no, they should know how to do that because that's what cleaning is. And I said, look, I understand your version of cleaning, but I also understand that these people are not here to disappoint you. They're not coming to our house on a weekly basis to make you upset. So next time they come, be very, very intentional, spend the time with them and say, look, this is what I expect to be cleaned. And if it costs more money, okay, that's fine, but at least you know you're getting what you want done. And sure enough, she spent the time with them. She explained to them everything that she expected and what she expected and what her version of a clean house was. And since then, our house has been great. So again, guys, I do this all the time. I expect people to think what I know or what I think in my head, and they don't. So spend the time creating the right SOPs, creating the right, I guess you could call it playbook for success for these people, because if you don't, they're never, ever, ever going to hit the targets you want them to hit. And that goes with every position. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you like these videos, please subscribe. Again, regular vlogs are on Fridays, educational videos on Mondays. Love you guys.